don't try and a number in your head that you have to make. Like, hey, I have to make this much money this month. If you do that, it's not going to work in your favor. Like, you have to take what the market gives you. Don't come in with expectations of I have to make this amount of money every single month. That's probably the biggest thing I would tell myself.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another TFT interview. Today I have the pleasure to host Andrew, who comes from Texas. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Ana. Happy to be on.
It's my pleasure to have you here. So can you first tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into trading?
Yeah, so I guess, I've always been sort of interested in entrepreneurship and finding additional ways to generate revenue or income. And so probably it was around 2011 or 2012, I got into trading. I think at the time it was a little bit different. I started off with something called binary options, which long story short, to me, looking back, that's essentially gambling. And a lot of it's kind of unregulated and this and that. So I wanted to find something a little bit more structured with more, I guess, established credibility. And so I got into Forex trading. I used a website called babypips.com to sort of learn like the basics on lot sizing, stop loss, take profit, et cetera. And long story short, hundreds of different strategies that I've tried to learn and look at over the years, but I've been able to be pretty consistent from a personal trading perspective. Came across a bunch of ads for prop firms. I really liked the TFT sort of gamified experience. I love the medieval time period. And so credit to Angelo for that, but that's kind of what got me on board with TFT.
Interesting, because many people say, with your style, we've been skeptical. We thought that you were not like legit, but everyone has a different perception. Interesting. Why did trading appeal to you? Like at the beginning, was it them thinking that it's a get rich quick scheme, or was it something different?
Yeah, I never really thought of it as a get rich scheme, to be honest.
Yeah, I believe it's more like now because of all those fake gurus on social media.
Thankfully, I've never really trusted or tried to follow those influencers, though there's some pretty good ones online. But for me, it was more about just if I can make a couple extra dollars here and there to pay for a vacation or pay for whatever it is, right? I wasn't trying to become a millionaire overnight, maybe over time, but not overnight.
Yeah, that's really good actually that you stepped in with the right mindset.
Yeah, just the chance also to have the freedom to someday be able to trade or make money from anywhere in the world. I think that's probably the most appealing part for me. Having the freedom to be able to travel and spend more time with your family.
Yeah, I totally understand. So how was the learning process? Did you have mentors? Did you learn everything by yourself? Did you join any communities? Can you tell us a bit about that part?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I joined a lot of communities. Unfortunately, I probably spent a lot of money on different courses and signal services and things like that. But I found that none of those work at the end of the day. It's you have to have your own sort of structure to how you trade. I did follow, or I got kind of a mentor of mine, I can say his name, Charles Clifton. Not a big online presence based in the UK, but he offers really good sort of structure around treating each currency as an individual currency and not like a pair. And it's really focused on how strong or weak is that specific currency. That's kind of the starting point to my strategy. And I consider him to be sort of a mentor of mine, at least.
So are you more focusing on fundamental analysis and relying on fundamental analysis? When you mentioned that you kind of treat and analyze the value of the currency itself, not in pairs.
Yeah, probably so. I'm not into the ICT, SMC, smart money concept types of things. I look at key levels of support and resistance in correlation with currency strength or weakness. That's kind of the basis for what I do. I like to analyze from a higher time frame perspective as kind of a way to identify key levels of support or resistance. But then from there, I'm kind of down on a lower time frame, maybe a 1 hour time frame, looking what does price do when it gets to those key levels? And so really being active and not predictive.
And what is the time frame that you usually use for execution?
Yeah, typically it's a 1 hour chart, maybe a 30-minute chart. I don't really like to look at the 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute, because when I look at those, I can convince myself that price is going up and down at the same time. So I prefer to use the higher time frames. A lot of times it's setting limit orders, right? Or stop orders. Yeah. That way I'm not in front of the charts all day and it's going to either, it might take profit or not.
Yeah. So you don't monitor the trades. You just set your orders and you let them play out, right?
Yeah. For the most part, I just kind of set them, let them play out. And well, if I know I'm going to be awake during those hours, I might not set a limit order. I might set like a price alert. That way I can come into the chart and then I can actually see what is price doing when it gets to this level rather than just getting it immediately. Like looking for some sort of pattern, like a bullish engulfing candle or at the bottom that says price is probably finished retracing.
So from what I assume that you're a day trader or a swing trader, something in between.
Yeah, I mean, I think ideally I would be a swing trader, and on my personal trading, that is all I do is swing trading. Like most of my trades I'll hold for 2, 3, 4 days. On prop firms, I try and really adjust my strategy because I don't really want to spend 2 or 3 months getting funded. I'd rather try and get funded pretty quick. I treat it a little bit differently from this perspective, and so I'll try and do smaller stop losses and take profits.
Okay, it's an interesting topic, so I would definitely like to dig deeper into that part. What were the advantages and what were the disadvantages of you transitioning from a personal account to prop firms? Because I have had so many traders that are only prop firm traders. So I have the opportunity now to ask someone who has 12 years of trading experience to tell me a little bit about the transition and what are the pros and cons of it.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of pros. I mean, some people might think of the rules of a prop firm as cons because they don't want to stick within those rules. But I think when you have to follow like the daily loss limit, the maximum drawdown limit, they really keep you in check and they almost prevent you from making mistakes that you might make on a personal account. I think for me, since I'm not really relying on trading as like my sole source of income, knowing that if I do lose a funded account or a challenge, it doesn't really matter. Like I'm not having to recover my entire personal account balance that maybe I spent, a year building over time. It's just once that challenge, I'll do another one or I'll, get another funded account at some point. So I know a lot of people might be looking at trading as like a way to make money and like they have to make money from trading. Thankfully for me, it's just I treat it a little bit differently, I guess.
And I believe this is an advantage because when you try to put pressure on trading, you usually end up making more mistakes than what you would do if you don't have the pressure. So what would you say are the biggest differences? You mentioned that it's good that you have those rules and because they make you a more disciplined trader. What would you say are the disadvantages? I guess the flexibility, of course, if you want to play with the risk a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's many disadvantages to prop trading. Like the fact that you can spend, whatever it is, $200, $300, $400, and then have a $100,000 account. Like, yeah, you don't really have that much money, but you have the leverage that comes with that account, and you can really you can make a meaningful income stream with prop firms much easier than you can from a personal account.
Yeah.
Unless you have a lot of capital. Like if you have the capital up front, then yeah, you can go the personal account route. But like this lets traders, from all different walks of life get into trading and really have the chance to actually make meaningful money.
And when it comes to the strategy, you said that you had to do adjustments to your strategy. Did it impact the win rate of your strategy or it was like not a big difference?
So I've been following the same sort of trading strategy over time for the past however many years. Like I started in 2012, but I traded on and off. So throughout that whole time, probably from like 2018 forward, I kind of stuck to one sort of style of trading. And I haven't really changed that. The only thing I've changed is I actually risk more with prop firms. I don't like people try and sort of risk, maybe 0.25% or half a percentage point. I'm risking more like 2% just because I know like what my traditional win rate is going to be over time. And I know that even a perfect strategy is going to have what I would call like a valley. You have peaks and valleys, underperformance. So for me, my thought is I don't want to take a challenge, start that challenge when my strategy's in a downtrend because I'm going to spend 2, 3, 4 weeks, 2 months trying to pass this challenge. I'd rather just pass it or fail it and then move on. I know that my strategy and kind of my win rate or risk reward that I use will allow me to kind of capitalize on the overperforming parts of the strategy.
Yeah. And in terms of like the risk to reward, do you stick to like lower risk to reward or higher risk to reward? What do you think? What is like better for you in your psychology to have like lower risk to reward and higher win rate or vice versa?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely a lower win rate and a higher reward. So I typically kind of target like a 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 risk reward, nothing higher than that, but nothing lower than a 1 to 2. Just because psychologically, for me at least, if I lose even just 1 or 2 or 3 trades and I'm trading on a 1-to-1 risk reward, in my mind, I know I have to win 2 or 3 trades in a row just to sort of recover the losses. And for me, I'd rather have a lower win rate with a higher reward.
I understand. What were the things that you struggled with the most, and how did you overcome those struggles? Like in the whole journey, like the learning process and the transition from being unprofitable or break-even trader to becoming a profitable, consistent trader?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the beginning, I just struggled with sticking to one structure or one strategy or style, I guess. And it all goes back to the psychological part of it, right? Like just being able to handle losses. I think sort of the light bulb moment for me was like, if you were to look at any equity curve for any strategy out there, it's not going to be a straight line up like this. Like it's going to be what I talked about earlier with peaks, consolidation valleys, almost like how the market moves, right? It's not going to move in a straight line. So I think once I realized that, the perfect strategy is still going to have periods of drawdown, it then became letting the probabilities play out over time. And biggest part of letting probabilities work in your favor is doing the same thing over and over again. If you switch a strategy tomorrow after a losing streak, that new strategy might have a losing streak, right? And so it's just sticking to the same thing, letting probabilities play out over time, and knowing that eventually they'll work out in your favor.
What was the game changer for you? Was there any eye-opening moment, like aha moment from which like everything switched?
Yeah, I really think for me, it was when I started only trading retracements. So if the market's in an uptrend, I'm not going to trade breakouts. Like when price approaches a previous high, I'm not going to trade it as soon as it breaks out. I'm going to let it break out, move forward in an uptrend, and then I'm going to wait for it to retrace back down to that key level. Because most of the time, it's going to come back and retest that level. If it doesn't, then I just missed that move. It was too far into the move. And I think if you wait for the retracements, that's what allows you to get the bigger risk rewards, the 1 to 2s, the 1 to 3s.
What were the skills that you had to develop to become profitable?
I think just consistency and sort of treating it like you're a robot. I mean, that sounds weird, but it's almost like, I don't know if you played sports growing up, but I played basketball, and to shoot free throws well, you want to do the same routine every single time. It almost becomes muscle memory. And so just doing the same thing every single time and not overreacting when you have a losing streak, like I talked about earlier. Just you keep working on what works. You don't change to a new shooting form in basketball or a new strategy. That's kind of how I treat it.
Yeah. How did you manage to develop consistency? Was it like something else outside of trading that you started doing that helped you to become consistent? Or was it like, did you do something differently to start like to become and to get more consistent?
Yeah, I mean, I think spending less time trading, spending less time on the charts helped me become consistent, because the more you're in front of the screen, the more you're going to have that fear of missing out. And to me, I would overtrade if I was in front of the screen. So like for me, if I only check the charts, maybe it's 6:30 to 7:30 Central Time, which is like essentially the New York Open, and I'm only looking for trades maybe around that time period, or I'm doing I'm analyzing the charts during that 1 hour time period. I'm identifying those levels, and then I'm setting alerts for pending orders, and then I'm just moving about my day because I do have to work. I have a job. So spending less time on the charts.
And do you wish that you did something sooner that would have done that would have made the journey smoother and easier?
I mean, I wish TFT would have been founded in 2016 or 2015. That would have made things much better. But no, I mean, honestly, I think probably like just going through the experience. I had to go through the experiences that I went through, all the time spent on strategies and learning how the market works.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't really do anything differently. I think the failures that you have across the way are what make you a better trader.
Yeah. And did you have to like adjust and adapt your strategy depending on different market conditions? Because the market conditions before COVID, for example, and before the war in Ukraine were different. Like, so such kind of events, Black Swan events, impact the market. Did you have to make adjustments in your strategy because of such type of events, or not really?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, I'm always aware of kind of what's going on. Like when there's major news announcements, I always check those at the beginning of the week, and I try to avoid those. Although typically my stops are big enough where like a news event might not really affect, because I'm not a scalper. But I think the markets have definitely been more volatile. I think it's actually kind of worked in my favor over the last 2 years, really, with different pandemics and other, world events.
Yeah.
So I haven't really had to adapt my strategy much, to be honest.
Okay, that's interesting, because I believe many people are wondering, okay, now I have a working strategy. Is it going to work in 5 years? Is it going to work in 10 years?
I mean, that's kind of what goes back to the probabilities, right? Like if you do a back test on pretty much any strategy, you have to look at it in sets of maybe 10 trades, 1 month of a trading strategy, 1 year, because it goes back to the equity curve. Like you're going to have negative months, negative weeks, negative days. It's just part of it.
Yeah. What was the most memorable moment in your trading journey?
I mean, honestly, one of the recent payouts with TFT, just because like it's a prop firm, I'm used to sort of like withdrawing from personal accounts, but there's something about getting that certificate that has your name on it, that has, Angela's name on it. It says like whatever it says. So maybe just like the first payout that I had from TFT was one of the most memorable moments of the journey. I'm trying to think of others, maybe like blowing my first account might be a memory that I don't forget either. Personal accounts. Thankfully, I never was somebody who just put in my whole life savings and I just lost it all in one day, right? I never put in that much capital to start. So I didn't have any life-altering failures, thankfully. But yeah, most memorable moment might be the first payout with TFT.
I think that it's really good that you come across trading with, got into this industry with the right mindset, because lots of people that end up losing a lot of money, put in all their life savings, they come with the wrong mindset and wrong expectations. They think that, okay, I'll put all my life savings, I'm going to flip them because many YouTubers are flipping accounts. So I'll get rich quick, or I will be able to pay my debt quicker. So it was really good for you that you came in with the right mindset without too high expectations. How did trading change you as a person? Were there things that you realized about yourself that you weren't aware of before you started with trading?
I mean, maybe just overall, just kind of the consistency and work ethic, right? Even with your daily job or just what you're doing, aside from trading, being consistent day in and day out. I think trading showed me how important that is because you can't deviate from kind of the work ethic. So maybe it changed for the better, just my work ethic overall. But I think it does make you really evaluate sort of your psychology. And if you have issues going on outside of trading, there's probably a reason why. There's probably something in your personal life that's maybe affecting how you're trading. So it really makes you sort of take a step back and make sure that things are going well in your personal life or just your life in general before you step into the charts. So really it kind of helped me slow down and just sort of be more kind of in the moment, I guess.
And do you have a daily routine that you're sticking to? How do you make sure that you are aware of your emotions, of your mental state?
Yeah, I mean, I try to just sort of think about these things. Thankfully, I have a dog that I take on a walk in the mornings and in the evenings. So that's a really good time to sort of just, think and solve problems and think about things that are important or maybe not so important. So just having that time where you're able to sort of be away from distractions, not looking at your phone or the charts or TV, whatever it is, just sort of cutting away from that kind of stuff and really just having some free time there.
You mentioned that you have a full-time job, right?
I do. Unfortunately, I do.
I know that many people struggle and have a question how to balance full-time job with learning how to trade. I believe that while you've been learning how to trade, you've had this full-time job. Can you share with the audience how did you manage to find this balance so that it won't lead to a burnout, but you can learn and practice and backtest and work at the same time? Yeah,
I mean, I think the biggest advice is it can be overwhelming if you're new to trading, and there's so many strategies, there's so many YouTube videos and influencers on Instagram, like you talked about earlier. I think it's just really avoiding all the distractions and really learning the basics. I mean, there's all these fancy names, but understanding how to properly set your lot size, where to put your stop losses, take profits, understanding when the market opens, right? When is market most likely to move the most, and really just spending. You only need 30 minutes maybe or an hour per day to just kind of learn stuff. I would say spend less time demo trading. I know that sounds crazy, but you can back test and demo trade yourself to death. But when you get to the real market and you have a losing streak, all that time was wasted because you're probably going to deviate from what you just learned. So I think it probably, I didn't have a great mentor or mentors. I had the one guy that I kind of learned from, but you can find somebody who's had success and take away their recommendations, then just apply those the best you can to some sort of structure that you can follow every single day once you start trading at a certain time. That's my best advice. If you work, from 9 to 5, maybe your 1 hour window is from like 7 to 8 where you're looking for setups, or maybe it's after work from like 6 to 7. I don't know. Just something like that. If you have structure around how you're learning, you don't have to spend hours per day, getting a strategy, especially with prop firms now, right? They're giving you access to capital. You don't have to worry about flipping your account or making so much money per month. You can really go about it at a better pace with prop firms.
Yeah. If you're about to start now with all the knowledge and experience that you have, what would you tell to yourself?
Probably just like don't go onto social media ever. Don't even look at any YouTube videos. For the most part, don't try and a number in your head that you have to make. Like, hey, I have to make this much money this month. If you do that, it's not going to work in your favor. Like, you have to take what the market gives you. So don't come in with expectations of I have to make this amount of money every single month. That's probably the biggest thing I would tell myself. Just come in, like, do what works. Like I said earlier, kind of be a robot in how you're trading. If you hit your take profit, great. If you don't, so be it. And I would say don't stare at the charts. Probably delete the app off of your phone. If you're coming into this new, I would say don't try and trade off of your phone. Don't follow the charts, or don't follow the trade once it's been entered. That's a great way to lose all of your hair and have high blood pressure all day.
Yeah, definitely. So when you mentioned high blood pressure, what is your opinion on trading psychology? What are the things that you have to work on to have like the right psychology to be part of this industry?
Yeah, I mean, I've read like a couple of books, just kind of around like probabilities, like Mark Douglas and others.
Yeah.
Really, you have to treat it like probabilities. If you're coming in and expecting to always consistently win, whatever your last month's back test told you were going to do, then you're not going to have success. But for me, it's staying away from the charts. That's what it is. Like, if you're spending time in front of the computer and you're looking at the charts on your phone, you're going to overtrade. At least I would, just my psychology. So for me, it's separating myself from trading, having confidence in what I've done, and then just stepping aside. If it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. If it does, great.
So what is the plan moving forward with trading and in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the beginning, I was kind of treating prop firms as just sort of a side hobby because I really didn't know how long they would last, to be honest. I mean, there's, FTMO and others. There's so many new prop firms popping up, but I think it's safe to say that there's really one or two, TFT included, leaders in the space. So I have full confidence with TFT. I want to get max funded with TFT. And yeah, I mean, eventually I'd like to sort of expand into some other, maybe some other prop firms, but it's hard to know which ones can compete with you all. So definitely want to get max funded with TFT. And then, I mean, for me, it's about using that capital either to add to my personal accounts or to even look for other business opportunities aside from trading. Yeah. I think it's kind of more advice. Don't make trading your only second source of income if you have a job. Like, you need to use trading to then fund other sort of opportunities, in my opinion.
When you mentioned prop firms, how did you find TFT and how is your experience with us?
Yeah, honestly, I really don't remember. Like, I must have seen an ad somehow on like Facebook, honestly, I think. Because I was trading with another prop firm prior to TFT. And I think I saw an ad on Facebook, and I really liked the medieval theme. And I think I watched an interview that somebody gave with Angelo, and he was just kind of talking about the company. And I really had confidence that he knew what he was talking about. Yeah. And that he would be successful. So that's kind of, I jumped in, I bought a challenge. I think I probably failed that challenge, I don't know, a week later probably. But yeah, I got hooked. And it goes back to the confidence. Like, TFT is scared to stick around. The Facebook ad definitely brought me in.
Nice. Okay. Any last words before we finish?
I mean, I guess if you're looking to trade and you're looking for strategies, I think my only advice to traders is, again, show me an equity curve that goes straight up like this. It doesn't exist. So if you're looking for a perfect strategy, you have to realize that every equity curve is going to have the peaks and the valleys and the consolidations. So with that in mind, you can do one or two things. You can either risk enough to capitalize on those peaks, or reduce your risk enough to weather the the downturns in your strategy. But every strategy out there is going to have that. ICT is going to have that. SMC is going to have that. Every strategy you're looking for from your gurus, they're not showing you the bad parts of their equity curve. So ignore their payouts, ignore their profitability, and just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Totally agree with you. I usually actually compare it like one of the biggest problems for people in general in the world are either money or obesity. So looking for a holy grail strategy is like people that have a problem with obesity looking for this magical tea that is going to help them burn weight without hitting the gym and limiting themselves. That's exactly the same. The holy grail does not exist. It's about putting the effort, being consistent and disciplined, and that's how you're going to get the results.
Totally agree.
Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your experience with us. I wish you best of luck with all your future goals and trading, and I hope to have a follow-up interview in the near future to check on your progress.
Yeah, hope to be at the top of the leaderboard pretty soon.
I'm crossing fingers for you. Thank you once again. And to all of you watching, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let me know in the comments if I'm missing a question that you're curious about. Trade safe, and until next time.